You know, there are these moments in your life, these tiny, insignificant 5-minute windows, end up defining everything that comes after, and you don't even realize it until it's all over. This isn't just a story about two kids getting kicked out of first class. Trust me. This is about what happens when you mistake confidence for character, how one single phone call can dismantle an empire built on assumptions. It was 8:45 a.m., Tuesday, and my twin sister, Kira, and I were settled in seats 2A and 2B on Apex Aero Flight 99 to Atlanta. We were headed down to see our grandmother, the kind of grandmother who spoils you rotten but keeps you on a stand. We were traveling first class. Because, well, that's just how Dad rolls. Kira was already lost in a digital textbook prepping for her AP Physics exam, and I was just enjoying the perfectly chilled cranberry juice. I was feeling that quiet, comfortable hum of the engine, the kind that whispers everything is fine. Then the shadow fell over my tray table. I looked up, and there she was, Brenda. She wasn't just a flight attendant. She was an institution, probably been flying since before we were born, with that tightly pulled, no-nonsense bun and eyes that seemed permanently set to disdain. She stood over us, arms crossed, and her voice, which was loud enough for half of first class to hear, had this sickly sweet, dripping condescension. "I'm sorry, girls. I don't know how you managed to sneak in here, but these seats are reserved for our paying clientele." I felt this immediate sharp sting, not because of what she said, but because of the assumption behind it, the kind of assumption that we've been taught, since we were little, to expect but never accept. Kira slowly looked up from her screen, and I could see her internal switch flip from studious teen to documentarian. "Ma'am, we are paying clientele," I replied, keeping my voice level. "The way Dad always taught us, low volume, high clarity. These are our seats, 2A and 2B. Brenda just gave this theatrical, exasperated sigh. "Oh, please, don't waste my time. Where did you find these tickets? Did your parents print them at home? Look, I'm giving you a chance to move back, to coach quietly before I have to call security." She even gestured toward the back of the plane with this exaggerated roll of her hand. Like we were puppies, she was shooing away. That's when Kira, without a word, pulled out her phone and hit the live stream button. She aimed it subtly at Brenda, and then at the clear, crisp details on our boarding passes, which were sticking out of the seat pocket. I watched the viewer count climb. 15, 30, 80. "Excuse me," Kira said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Could you state your full name and title for the record? We just want to make sure we're documenting this correctly." Brenda's eyes went wide, flashing with instant anger. "Put that away. There is no filming allowed on this aircraft, young lady." But Kira just kept recording, zooming in slightly. On the flight number displayed above the door, the comments started flooding in. Even then, "Flying while black, 2024. Apex Aero, are you watching this?" Brenda, totally rattled by the camera, immediately pressed the call button. "I need a supervisor now. We have 2 disruptive passengers refusing to comply." Within 2 minutes, Gary, the gate supervisor, guy in his late 40s with a tie too tight and a face already set in a grim, well, I know better expressions, tomped into the cabin. He took one look at us, another at the frantic Brenda, and didn't even ask to see our passes. He just decided, "Girls, you are holding up $1 million aircraft. Move, now." It was the complete dismissal of evidence that really solidified it for me. They weren't interested in the truth. They were only interested in maintaining their perceived order, an order where 2 girls like us couldn't possibly belong in 2A and 2B. Kira's live stream was now hovering around 500 viewers. The real power wasn't just the viewers, it was the witnesses. I saw Mr. Harrison, an older gentleman in 1C, who looked like a retired professor, start quietly recording on his tablet. Sarah Jenkins in Foray, a sharp business traveler, was furiously typing a post on LinkedIn. The documentation was spreading like wildfire, moving far beyond Kira's tiny TikTok bubble. Then the door opened, and 2 airport security officers, Officer Miller and Officer Hayes, walked in. Gary pointed straight at us like we were dangerous criminals. "They're trespassing, refusing to show valid ID, and obstructing the flight. Remove them." Officer Hayes, the taller one, approached us, his face professional but stern. Ma'am, let's make this easy. We need you to come with us. I reached into my designer backpack to pull out my driver's license, the original ticket stub, and the corporate credit card receipt, the trifecta of proof Dad always insisted we carry. But as my hand moved, my phone started vibrating hard. It was Dad. I hit decline. It immediately rang again. Decline. Someone is very persistent, Officer Hayes noted, glancing at my screen. Just my father, I replied. He worries. Well, he'll have a lot more to worry about if you don't stand up right now, Brenda muttered under her breath, a smirk playing on her lips. That was the moment I realized they weren't just questioning our tickets. They were questioning us. Our worth, our right to be comfortable, our entire reality. It was a cold, quiet violation, and it made my hands tremble. But the trembling was quickly replaced by a cold certainty, the kind that comes from years of preparation, Dad had always told us. When they try to steal your dignity, you don't fight with volume. You fight with proof, and you fight with leverage. I looked at Kira. Her eyes met mine, calm, focused, still recording. The viewer count was at 1,500 now. The officers closed in. Officer Hayes pulled out the dreaded plastic zip ties. Last chance, ladies. You're under arrest for failure to comply. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my voice remained steady. Sir, before you arrest 2 minors on a federal charge, would you mind asking me to answer this call? It might save everyone a lot of trouble. Hayes shrugged, clearly annoyed. Make it fast. I pressed accept. The entire cabin, which had been buzzing with hushed outrage, went dead silent. Over 5,000 viewers on Kira's live stream waited. Even Brenda looked smugly expectant. I put the phone on speaker, holding it awkwardly with my trembling fingers. Hello, Dad. We're fine. Just experiencing some confusion about our seating arrangements. A deep, powerful voice, instantly recognizable to anyone in the aviation industry, boomed through the tiny speaker. Kira, Zara, sweethearts, are you okay? This is Dr. Elias Vance, CEO of Aerodynamics Solutions. Aerodynamics Solutions. The name landed in the cabin like a seismic event. Officer Hayes' hand froze inches from my wrist. Gary's smug expression dissolved into pure slack-jawed panic. Brenda actually took a physical, staggering step backward, knocking into a drink cart. Aerodynamics. It's not just some tech company. They design, manufacture, maintain the most critical avionics and navigational systems for 78% of all commercial flights in North America. They held exclusive service contracts for every major carrier, including, and most critically, Apex Aero. Dr. Vance's voice still calm, but now laced with a steely A. Quiet command that made seasoned executives nervous filled the suddenly tiny space. Confusion. Zara, are you still on Apex Aero Flight 99 to Atlanta? Are you telling me that my daughters, who are in their assigned confirmed $4,500 first-class seats, are being questioned by your staff? Gary finally stammered, his voice thin and reedy. Yes, sir. We were simply following protocol, verifying. Protocol. Dr. Vance cut him off, the word dripping with disdain. Let me tell you about our protocol, Gary. You see, Aerodynamics doesn't just service your planes. We hold the master maintenance contract for every single navigation system on your entire fleet. And our service agreement, Section 14.2, is very clear. Any verified incident of discrimination or racial bias involving a Vance family member or employee triggers an immediate, non-negotiable review of all contracts. The cabin descended into stunned silence. Business travelers were pulling out their phones, not to record, but to check Apex Aero's stock price. Kira's livestream viewer count soared past 10,000. The comment section was now a blur of capital letters and dollar signs. Holy cow, they just grounded Apex. CEO's daughters. This is going viral. Dr. Vance wasn't done. He was using the phone speaker like a gavel. Furthermore, my executive assistant has just informed me that she has already activated the emergency clause, requiring Apex Aero to explain this incident to the FAA Safety Board, the board I happen to sit on within the next 60 minutes. Officer Hayes slowly, deliberately, put the zip ties back in his pocket. He was pale. Officer Miller, who had been quiet, backed away towards the door, already speaking into his radio. Abort. Abort. This is a corporate diplomatic incident, not a security issue. Within 5 minutes, the CEO of Apex Aero, Helen Chalmers, was on the line, her voice cracking with forced humility. Dr. Vance immediately put her on speaker for the entire world to hear. Dr. Vance, I am calling to personally and profoundly apologize for the unconscionable treatment your daughters received. It is a systemic failure, and I take full responsibility. Then came the retribution, announced live on a TikTok stream watched by over 15,000 people. Flight attendant Brenda Matthews has been terminated, effective immediately. Gate supervisor Gary Stevens has been suspended pending termination. Silence in the cabin was so thick you could feel the weight of those ruined careers. But Dad and Kira weren't just looking for firings. They were looking for change. Ms. Chalmers, Kira spoke clearly into the phone, her voice now authoritative. Apologies are just words. What is the action? Ms. Chalmers, defeated, outlined the reforms. A $10 million diversity and inclusion fund established immediately. A mandatory bi-weekly dignity and compliance training program for all customer-facing staff. The establishment of an independent civil rights oversight board to review all bias complaints. As the phone call ended, and the remaining crew members fell all over themselves to offer us water, blankets, and profound apologies. The energy in the cabin had utterly transformed. The officers were gone. Brenda's empty service cart sat abandoned. We finally settled back into our seats, our wrists still faintly sore from where the zip ties almost touched. Kira smiled, ending her live stream just as the captain, over the intercom, gave a heartfelt apology for the unacceptable delay and unacceptable conduct of some personnel. The pilot was not messing around. Dad always told us, I whispered to Kira, that the measure of an injustice isn't the pain it causes you, but the leverage you find to ensure it doesn't happen to anyone else. Kira looked out the window as the plane finally started to taxi. Pulling away from the gate, where Brenda and Gary's futures had just imploded, I think we just bought every future black passenger on this airline 10 years of peace, she said, her voice quiet but firm. So, that's the story. We flew to Atlanta, saw Nana. Apex Aero is now the industry standard for bias prevention, costing them over $200 million in the fallout, but saving their corporate life. But here's my question for all of you watching. Was justice truly served? Yes. The individuals who showed bias were fired, and the corporation paid millions and changed its policies. But should justice only be accessible to those with a CEO father and billion-dollar contracts? Should you need a weapon of corporate leverage just to sit in the seat you paid for? Tell me in the comments below. Do these systemic changes actually work, or is this just a band-aid on a much bigger, much uglier wound? Let me know your thoughts, and remember to hit that like and subscribe button for more stories about leverage. There's power in finding your voice. Peace.